today to draw attention to the dangerous policies of Illinois and the Illinois governor and what he has perpetuated as far as violence and criminality against his citizens here in this state. Springfield needs attention specifically because of the victims that have been here, but also because of the laws that come out of this city that impact the entire state, that is protecting illegal criminals and not prioritizing the American citizens and the citizens of this great state. With me today, behind me, I have angel families, which are families that have lost their loved ones due to illegal aliens that have committed crimes of violence against them. I'm going to introduce them and let them have an opportunity to speak as well. But the first one is Jim Walden. Then Brian and Aaron McCann are coming up as well, Kathy Zander and Nancy Palentia. All of these families have lost their loved ones, their family members, their children, and people that were very, very dear to them. Brian's brother Denny was crossing a street in Chicago when he was struck by an illegal alien drunk driver who kept on driving for a block while dragging Denny on the road. That alien then fled the scene. Both killers had been previously protected from discovery and deportation by sanctuary policies. Jim's son, Jimmy, was a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps, and he was killed on a motorcycle ride by a twice deported illegal alien who had left his injured stepson in the car while he fled to get away from prosecution. Those two men both lost individuals because of illegal aliens that had been protected from discovery and deportation. Also with me today is Kathy Zander. Her son John died of fentanyl poisoning. John is one of the many Americans whose lives have been cut short because of the lack of enforcement against those who perpetuate drugs and the infiltration of its trafficking by cartels and other illegal gangs into this state. Nancy Palentia is the mother of Nick. Nick tragically lost his life as well from a fentanyl overdose. And Nick worked every day to get other people clean from drugs and started his own business before his life was tragically taken by the drugs that are funneled into these American communities every day. But we're standing here on this block today because this is the block where a young woman was killed. Just a couple of houses away from here, Emma Shafer was brutally stabbed and murdered by an illegal alien who was released into the United States by the Biden administration. He had already been previously arrested for kidnapping and had been released, and then he had entered back into our country under the Biden administration to perpetuate more violence and eventually took Emma's life. This illegal alien, his name is Gabriel Calixto Pichardo, already had a felony kidnapping, and then when he was released, he should have been deported immediately. This murder and the illegal alien has now been on the run for 2 years. He has not been brought into incarceration, and we need not just the governor of this state, but also the partnership of local law enforcement to get this family justice for losing their daughter, Emma. Since 2017, Illinois has been a sanctuary state. The results have been absolutely disastrous for people who live here. In 2020, Governor Pritzker expanded access to taxpayer-funded free health care for illegal aliens. It has cost the citizens of Illinois $1.6 billion. He has been incentivizing illegals to come here and to live in this state. In 2021, Pritzker ordered local officials to stop cooperating and working with our ICE officers. In 2022, there were at least 400 to 500,000 illegal aliens in this state, and we know that there's even more here today. This governor has bragged about Illinois being a firewall against President Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. And it is very clear that he is violating the Constitution of the United States because it is a federal law that the federal government and the president set and enforce immigration policies. Let me give you just a few examples of the criminals who have been allowed to roam free because of Governor Pritzker's sanctuary policies. In 2020, while Pritzker was in office, a 34-year-old illegal alien in Mexico was released by the city of Chicago after committing theft. He'd already been deported, he was a convicted felon, and they let him get away. He then went on to sexually assault a 3-year-old girl in a McDonald's bathroom. And in February of this year, 2 illegal aliens were arrested after they murdered a 63-year-old man. They lured him to his death using a dating app, tied him up in his apartment, and killed him. They then used his credit card and his phones and spent over $4,000 before they were arrested. And just earlier this week, ICE finally arrested and took into federal custody an illegal alien who had been arrested 16 times in Chicago and had been continuously released over and over again. What's worse is that all of these arrests have happened between October of 2023 and November of 2024. All of these occurred under Governor Pritzker's watch, and he largely excused all of this crime under the guise of running a sanctuary state and supported policies that prevent local law enforcement officers to work with our ICE officers to get families justice. Now that we've given the American people the safest and most secure border in American history, we have to double down at removing dangerous criminals. President Trump has been focused on making sure that we're going after the worst of the worst, going after those who are perpetuating violence against American citizens. And Governor Pritzker has created a sanctuary here for those criminals and invited them here with free health care, free housing, free assistance, and facilitated them being protected from being brought to justice. People are dying every day because of these policies, and people are evading justice, and families like the angel families behind me are mourning the loss of their loved ones with knowing that it's going to continue to go on and on into the future. Governors like JB Pritzker don't care if gangbangers, if murderers, rapists, and pedophiles roam free in his state. If they are here illegally, he's going to protect them. And for most of my career, I have fought these kinds of criminals and fought to protect my people in South Dakota, but also across the country, and that is what President Trump is focused on here today. We are a nation of laws, and we're a nation of laws for good reason. As Secretary of Homeland Security, I'm going to uphold our federal immigration laws. I'm going to draw attention to people who are breaking the law and breaking and violating our Constitution. I'm going to fight for the victims every single day and draw attention to them as long as we can, and President Trump will continue to do that as well. We should be united as a country around bringing violent criminals to justice and getting them out of the United States of America. People who support sanctuary policies talk about love and compassion. Well, where's the compassion for the families that stand behind me? Where's the compassion for Emma, who died on this street, and her killer is still out, roaming free, with no consequences for his actions? And they already knew he was a violent criminal, had already held a knife to a woman's throat and kidnapped her. They let him go free so he could come back and kill Emma. And for 2 years, JB Pritzker has protected individuals like that so that he can stand up and say that he's a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state. Shame on him. And shame on him for standing up the other day and saying Republicans should never know a moment of peace. This country is desperate for peace. It's desperate for safe communities and streets where they can walk their children to school and not have to worry about getting robbed or stabbed. Police officers should be respected and honored, and we should wrap our arms around their families, not order them to not participate with others who want to help them do their job. Shame on Governor Pritzker for what he's done to Illinois. This is a beautiful state with beautiful people, and to allow this kind of criminal activity to continue to go on should never happen. I'm proud of President Trump that he's going after folks and bringing them to justice so that these families behind me can finally have some peace and they can finally have some justice, and we can clean up the United States of America so everybody can have a dream of living free and living happy with their loved ones. I'm calling on Governor Pritzker and all the other leaders of this state to abandon their dangerous sanctuary policies. I'm thankful for all the state leaders that are standing behind me who agree as well. They've been fighting an uphill battle with this governor, and I'm proud of them that they're standing here with us today and with these angel families and saying enough is enough. We have to change as a state. We have to start protecting people. We need to return to law and order, and we need to put people first. Let's work together to protect the American people. Now I'm going to turn first and allow these angel families to share a few words about their loved ones and their thoughts. And I'm going to go to Jim first and let him talk about his son, Jimmy.
Good morning, everyone. As the secretary referred to, my son was serving in the United States Marine Corps in the intel field. He worked for the National Security Agency. Jimmy was 21 years old. He was hit and killed riding his motorcycle by an illegal that the state of Maryland admitted they knew was illegal 5 years before he killed my son. And in that 5-year period, they'd had him in jail 5 times. He was convicted of domestic violence and put on probation, and he was illegal. Jimmy would have been 30 years old yesterday. We'll never know where he would be, what he would be doing. Last Tuesday, I was in Maryland to testify at the sentencing hearing because he re-entered again for the 3rd time. And the maximum they could give him was 46 months in jail for the 3rd re-entry. It's ridiculous. And for our governor to get on national television and say that he's going to stand up and protect these people is a gut punch to anybody that's lost one. Nobody, no Angel family's death couldn't be considered an accident. Because if the government had done their job and deported these criminals, they would not have been there to kill our families. And I just wish that I could see my son grow and get married and have kids, but it's never going to happen. He was named after me and my father, James Ray Walden III, and now that legacy stops. There'll never be a 4th, and we'll never know. And all we're left with is the wonder of where he would be and what he would be doing. And it's a hole in your heart that'll never be filled, and it never goes away. You learn to cope and you learn to live with it, but the pain's there every day. And when you see on national television that they're protecting the people that have done this, it just brings it all back to the surface. You start all over again from day one. I just call on Governor Pritzker to be a true governor and stand by the federal laws and deport every one of them. Every one of them. I don't care if they're 2 or 20 or 80. Send them back. We have a path to citizenship. It's called the naturalization process. Use it. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate the time. Pardon me? Walden. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peoria.
I'm going to next invite Kathy Zander to come up and share some thoughts, but also to talk about her son, John, as well.
My name is Kathy Zander. I lost my son to a fentanyl poisoning. My son did make a choice to snort a line of cocaine, which was spiked with fentanyl. I'm sure now with this administration, everybody's heard of fentanyl. We all know it's a weapon of mass destruction, and we all know it's flooding our streets. We all know where it's coming from, and it needs to stop. Turning your head can't happen anymore. We are losing 300 Americans a day on American soil, and nobody is talking about it. At some point, when it hits someone's family, they look for people like us because they can't verbalize what's going on with them. So they find comfort in a comfort zone, in a path where everyone knows what's going on. Again, I'm happy for DuPage County Sheriff. He was the only one that listened to me when this happened, and I'm thankful that he's running for governor, and I pray to God he wins. Kathy with a K. Zander, Zander, Carroll Stream, Illinois, DuPage County.
Next, I'm going to invite Nancy to come up. Nancy's going to share with you a little bit about her son, Nick.
Hi, I'm Nancy Platania, and I lost my son, Nick, to fentanyl and xylazine. He was 37 when he died. Nick was introduced to fentanyl when he had surgery. They put a fentanyl patch on him in the hospital for 5 days, took it off and said, "You're done. See you in 10 days for a checkup." And that's how he became addicted to heroin, because he couldn't get the fentanyl. And he was clean and sober for 19 months. And in that 19 months, he was able to help numerous people get into treatment. He was the one that they would call. He would go pick them up off the streets of downtown Chicago if they were willing to go. The amount of people he saved was amazing. And he chose to do it one more time. There was no heroin in it at all. It was all fentanyl and xylazine. And in DuPage, supposedly he was the second victim of xylazine in 2021. And since then, xylazine is pretty common everywhere now. He never got married. He didn't have any kids. And because of the drugs coming through the open borders, along with all the people that didn't belong here, he is one of those many children that everyone has lost to the drug. And the immigrants need to stop, and so does the flow of the drugs. It's just unbelievable, and no one seems to care. No one about the fentanyl issue, and it's as clear as day. Thank you.
I'm going to invite Brian to come up and share his brother's story. He lost his brother Denny in Chicago in a horrific way, and I'm just so proud of him for standing up here and being willing to talk about it and about the changes that need to happen here in Illinois.
Thank you. My name's Brian McCann. My brother Dennis was killed violently in the Logan Square neighborhood in June of 2011. He was killed by an illegal alien, one Saul Chavez, who had been convicted of a similar crime, although there was no death involved, 2 years prior. And he was not deported because Chicago and Cook County had already established a sanctuary system. And 2 months after my brother was killed, Cook County encoded the law and passed the sanctuary law. A year after that, the city did, and about 7 or 8 years, Pritzker signed Illinois to go sanctuary. So we're one of the most notorious sanctuary states in the Union. Before I go on, though, I'd like to say a word about an organization that I founded on behalf of victims. It's called Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime. We work with victims all over the country. We've testified before Congress. We've done many pressers like this. I've even written a book called Death in Chicago, a Sanctuary City. We're very active in this work. We work with other entities like FAIR, and we lobby in Congress. I'd like to also say a kind word about Secretary Noem. She did a tremendous job yesterday before a congressional committee, and she withstood the ignorant questioning by Laura Underwood, who was my former congresswoman, and she has the audacity to want to run for governor. I can't believe it when I watched that yesterday. The secretary did. She represented our interests so well yesterday, as she's doing today and will continue to do as her tenure as Secretary of Homeland Security. The good news is, if I can say it, after writing several letters, I prevailed on the FBI and the former secretary and Senator Durbin to do something about extraditing my brother's killer. He fled to Mexico, and he lived down there for about 9 years, and I finally got a call about 4 years ago that they were going to bring him back home, and we spent to the Cook County courts. He's now residing in a downstate prison, serving time for the crime that he committed. My brother's family survives. He was a grandfather at the time. He was 66 years old, and he was on his way to call on a Hispanic Mexican restaurateur. He was an insurance broker, and this was his favorite restaurant, where he lived down the street from there, and as he was crossing the street, he was killed violently, and his killer fled the country. But justice has been returned, some measure, but full justice will never be returned to a death one. I can't imagine wonderful people behind me, namely Jim and the ladies who've lost children to this horrible sanctuary and situation. A brother is one thing, but losing a child is quite another. So my heart goes out to them, and I want to thank everybody for being here, and be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for sharing your story. And also, Brian's joined by his wife, Erin, and we thank them for all their work in advocating to help victims of illegal criminal activity. The one thing that I would like to say is we're standing on the street because of Emma Shafer. She lost her life to an illegal alien that's still out at large, probably in this state. We can't confirm that because the local law enforcement and the state law enforcement are barred by state law with the support of Governor Pritzker from sharing any information with our ICE officers or HSI officers. This is the individual who killed Emma. And I would ask you to implore your leaders here in this state to participate with us so we can bring him in before he kills someone else. He stabbed her repeatedly, over and over again. She lost her life, and her killer is still loose today. So I would ask that you continue to go to Governor Pritzker, tell him to change his laws so that individuals like that can be brought to justice. Also, just recently, we had an individual who was convicted in 2019 of killing his own father. He was sentenced to 20 years in incarceration, but was released in this state after serving only 6. We did put a detainer out on him, and the state did not honor it, and they released him out onto the streets. We did just finally pick him up, but that tells you exactly what happens over and over again. Someone who can be convicted of murder, be sentenced, released early in the state of Illinois with the support of the governor to go out and commit more crimes, and they don't even be able to share information or participate with us in trying to get these dangerous people out of the state and out of the country. So I would like to continue to ask Governor Pritzker, change your ways, protect your people, help us clean up our streets, and help us stop this violent, illegal, alien, criminal activity that's happening in your state, and your people are being so disserviced by the actions and the support that you've taken against this administration to try to work to make America safe again. Yes.
Secretary, with all due respect to you and your families, could you answer to people like the governor that believe that you only present circumstantial evidence, that there's no statistical evidence to support President Trump's immigration policy?
There's no statistical evidence to support it? What do you mean?
That, for example, crime has been down for the last 20 years when immigration has gone up.
Well, that's simply not true. And all you have to do is to look at this binder full of people that are right here in these neighborhoods in this state that are still at large perpetuating criminal activity against the citizens that live here. All of these people could be brought to justice if Governor Pritzker would change the state laws and allow law enforcement to participate with our investigators to make sure criminals are brought to justice.
Secretary, where's Emma Shafer's family? Did you speak to them?
We have been reaching out to them and weren't able to get a response yet, but we have been reaching out to them.
Sec, were you aware that Emma Shafer's family is across town at the protest against disappearance and against this?
No, I wasn't aware of that. Is that her immediate family?
Yes,
Yeah.
her mother is
Yes.
correct.
Thank you. Did you have a question?
I did. It was about the real ID. I'm just wondering why the last minute change. You know, like if people don't need a real ID to fly today, will they need one later? Like, what's the next steps?
Well, it's not a last minute change. That law was passed 20 years ago. Joe Biden chose to have it implemented on May 7th, which is today. And so we are implementing the federal law, and it's a valid ID that will be able to go forward and to make sure that we know who's traveling on our federal transportation system. So people will be able to prove their legal status, who they are, and that they are supposed to be here.
Secretary,
Yes.
Secretary, Governor Pritzker has repeatedly said that he believes that people who are illegal in this country and commit violent crimes should be deported. What's your response to that?
Then he should participate with us. He should change the state law that allows his local law enforcement to participate with us to make sure that we can share that information to bring people to justice.
Secretary, as far as like, I don't know if you have statistics or even estimates out of the number of people who are in this country illegally today, and out of those individuals, how many have criminal records?
We believe in the millions of criminal records. It'll be different kinds of charges and different kinds of based on, it could be theft, petty crime, but it could be murder, rape, but many, many of them that we need to bring. Yes.
There have been reports that the administration is considering sending migrants to India. Is that true? Or can you explain how that would work?
I can't confirm anything. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.